Good day, and welcome to the She's Yielding Success talk show with me, your host, 𝗦𝗵𝗀 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗀. Today we are celebrating women in the agricultural landscape. Joining me in the studio is Lebogang, Head of Labor Relations at Agri SA. But first, 5-minute fundamentals with Westley Ferguson.
Thank you, 𝗦𝗵𝗀. In today's 5-minute fundamentals, we'll be taking a look at swarm farms, the buzzing new farming technologies. So, what are swarm farms? Swarm farms, by definition, is the opposite to conventional methods of farming when thinking of a mechanization point of view. Swarm farms utilize the concept of smaller robotic platforms to autonomously conduct farming operations as a substitute to large manned agricultural equipment. So, conventional farming typically requires large agricultural equipment and very few of these large equipment on a single farming unit. The opposite to this would be swarm farms, which is consisted of a larger number of small equipment that can be used on farms. For the sake of identifying these swarm farm technologies, we've created a small scenario that runs all the way through from planting, crop care, harvest, through to general use of some of the existing and available swarm farm technologies. First, on the planting side, technology from 𝗬𝗵𝗲, known as Project 𝗬𝗶𝗲𝗀, developed in around about 2017 as one of their special research projects, with its core function being an autonomous seed sower. Commodities applicable to this specific technology include grains and other granular seeds. Next, on the crop care point of view, technologies by Agri robotics, with the core function of some of these technologies being per plant crop intelligence, adaptive soil moisture monitoring, as well as intelligent weeding capabilities. The status of the Agri robotics projects is that it was founded in 2019, and operational trials have been conducted on commercial scales. Commodities applicable to this specific technology include vegetables and low-growing crops. The second crop care technology that's been identified is produced by swarm farm robotics, of which the use of this specific technology is to be used as a precision application of crop protection products, ranging from fertilizers to herbicides. Current status of this specific technology is that about 400,000 hectares have been serviced to date by the swarm farm robotics fleet. This specific technology is applicable to various commodities. Moving on to the harvest side of swarm farm applications. Technologies by harvest crew robotics in the format of an automated strawberry harvester. This specific technology has been spent 8 years in development and has recently been endorsed by commercial farmers in the US as ready for full implementation on farm level. Lastly, a general use category of swarm farm technologies, which includes the use of drone technologies for agricultural purposes in a wide range of applications, all the way through from monitoring and evaluating crops through to being a substitute for pesticide and herbicide sprayers. So, next, why are swarm farms needed? So, two of the biggest driving factors for the creation of swarm farm technologies is one, the global labor supply chain, with countries like the US and continents like Europe showcasing a reduced supply of agricultural labor. The reduced supply of agricultural labor has prompted technology companies to come up with creative solutions as alternatives to on-farm labor. Secondly, the big drive for swarm farm technologies are their precision agriculture advantages. So these technologies are developing at a rapid rate and can be considered an alternative with reliability increases. So compared to conventional equipment where one large machine breaking down might hamper your farming capabilities, a large network of smaller machines with 1 or 2 breaking down would not have such a large impact on your reliability. Some presenter findings. Historically, swarm farm technologies have mostly operated out of the startup environments. However, in recent days, we see large existing commercial mechanization companies investing into these technologies, which could result in increased scalability of these technologies and them being more readily available and associated with stronger brands in the agricultural industry. Lastly, a few special considerations for swarm farm technologies. It's important to understand how new technologies are adopted. We typically follow a stage where we have innovators, early adopters, followed by a chasm of adoption, which is typically where new technologies fall short. Then this rolls over into the pragmatists, conservatives, and the skeptics adoption phase. At the current time of this conversation, from my opinion side, I would say that swarm farm technologies are currently between the innovators and the early adopters and still needs to cross the chasm of adoption. Last special consideration for swarm farm technologies in an African context is when keeping in mind that these technologies were born out of a shortage of labor supply, one has to think about how the specific technologies could be applicable to Africa, where agriculture is still a large labor force employing source. Over to some of our guests to explain more about this.
Farming plays a vital role in the economy and sustainability of our country. From herding and harvesting, it has grown and evolved into an innovative, fast-paced industry. Today's farmers are skilled business people who use the Internet of Things to run these commercial enterprises and share their products with the world. Because farmers do so much more than farm, they need more than just insurance. As the leading agricultural insurer in South Africa, Santam has the specialist solutions, in-depth expertise and infrastructure to meet each farmer's unique needs and manage their risk on and off the farm, while keeping their business running the good and proper way. Choose the insurer who understands the future of farming. Speak to your intermediary or visit santam.co.za.
Welcome, Lebo.
Hi, Shanae, and thank you for having me today.
You are a dynamic woman in the agricultural landscape. Why did you choose agriculture?
Well, I think agriculture turns me. Although I come from a family of subsistence farmers in the Northwest, there were two phenomenal women in the industry that took a chance at me when I first started at Agri SA, and here we are today.
Are these the women that inspired you to take on the agricultural journey? Who are they?
Oh, definitely they are, but my first and foremost inspiration would be my mom.
Did she tell you to say that?
Yes, she did. No, what I loved about my mom is that she always said she hated the title female farmer. She always said, when I worry about input costs, when I worry about soil, when I worry about, I have every other worry that farmers have, whether male or female. So she used to say, I'm a farmer, point blank. I'm not a female farmer, I'm just a farmer like everyone else.
I agree with you, Lebo. So how do you experience the playing field for women in the agricultural industry? Is the playing field equal? How would you express the playing field at the moment?
I'm loving what I'm seeing, although we have a long way to go when it comes to transformation and inclusive growth in terms of women in the industry. But what I'm loving is women taking their place in the industry because we've always been there. We've always been there. We were just seen in the background, and I think now it's time for us to come in the forefront. So whether it's seeing a young female farmer on social media or a young person taking interest in agriculture, I think that's one step closer to us having great inclusive growth into the sector.
Yes, Lebo, I agree with you. So as previously mentioned, you are a labour law specialist at Agri SA. So to tie into Wesley's insights, what are your insights into how AgTech will have an influence in employment in the industry?
I think agricultural technology will always have an impact on employment and the labour market. I think the great responsibility lies in us, the employers, as well as agricultural institutions and the government. Why I say that is because at the end of the day, we know better the transition into greener economies and its effects it will have on the labour market. Because number one, agriculture will always be a big employer in our rural areas, and that's where we have a lot of our young people. And number two, with the African economy economy transforming into being more productive and sustainable, there will be a higher demand for higher skilled workers. So we need to learn how to upskill our workers who are already on our farms. We need to learn how to attract new skill into the sector to make sure that our young people and those in the agricultural sector already are not just unemployed, but we don't leave them unemployable. So how do we equip them with the new skills? How do we give them on-the-job training? Although yes, graduate education is great, but we need to now couple that with on-the-job training, that we're not just training the graduates, we're also training those who are on the farm already.
Yes, I agree. Especially with the high unemployment rate that we are facing, we should equip the youth of today, especially to adapt to the ag-tech change in the market. So Lebo, thank you for your contribution to the agricultural landscape. I am truly excited to see what the future holds for you. So if you could give your younger self any insights, what would that be?
I think that will be growth is a process. I think, as I said earlier, when I came into agriculture, I was welcomed by two phenomenal women who became my community in the sector. They mentored me, they counseled me, even though they've moved on with their lives at the moment within the sector, of course. But I can pick up the phone and call them for advice, call them for guidance, because they have a wealth of information that I do not have. So I'll also take it as a challenge to the older generation in the sector that don't be afraid to mentor us, don't be afraid to teach us. We need you. We would love to learn from you, because at the end of the day, we are indeed the future of the sector.
Thank you once again, Lebo.
Thank you for having me.
Agri SA Enterprises just wants to take this moment to thank our sponsor Santam for making this platform a reality. Santam is the preferred insurance provider for millions of South Africans, helping you to be safe wherever you go. For more information, please visit their website. I am your host, 𝗦𝗵𝗲𝗀 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶. Thank you for tuning in and have a good day.